All right. All right, Mr. Carpio. I am so excited to get to talk to you today about your lesson. Let's talk a little bit about the goal we set before Christmas break. We set a goal of changing your seating arrangements to ensure every student could engage with the class. I want to praise the work you did in this area. Can you tell me what your new seating arrangement does to make your class successful?
Yes, so before I used to have groups of four, and it felt like my students, whenever they were confused or whatnot, they kind of had more people to socialize with, and kind of get more distracted. But now we're working in pairs, and I feel like now they have more accountability for actually, doing their work. And if one person doesn't know how to do it, but then the other one does, it's kind of easier to just kind of, oh, you know how to do it, go ahead, teach me type of thing. And I feel like they're more inclined to actually raise their hand as opposed to getting distracted.
Tell me how you assign the seats to ensure your students had both support and the ability to engage in the cognitive struggle.
I've taken a look at IEP's 504s to try to, determine kind of who should be in the front, who I need to give those little reminders for. My students who are kind of able to do work independently and always kind of know what's going on, those A students, I put them kind of more towards the back or trickle them with other students here and there to get our levels kind of more just getting ahead and whatnot. But that's kind of those reminders towards the front.
I really want to stamp the decisions you've made because I definitely see more student engagement, and that's something we've been working on. Today, I want to dive into that a little further, specifically into some teacher moves you can make to ensure that student engagement continues. Let's talk a little bit about breaking the plane and strategic monitoring. I want to show you an exemplar, and while we watch this exemplar video, I want you to take notes on both what the teacher does and what the students do, okay? I'm also going to do the same, and then we're going to spar.
So Max likes him, and he wants to be friends with him, right? So we're gonna write. And wait for those friends that are not as fast, and then you have to mark your way back. Deposit. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Mariah. Wait for one, friends. I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deposit.
One step.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit. What did you see the teachers do to prepare? What did you see the teachers do in this video?
I saw, that the teachers really like roaming, going everywhere and doing quick checks for understanding it seemed like they were breaking it down step by step. Quick check, going around, going everywhere, check, going. And I liked even when the teacher gave them they said 10 seconds, and she's counting down, but also checking, moving. That also creates, that the students, we're doing urgency, but yeah, little steps, and even making sure there were some with the markers up, making sure that if you're ready, marker up. All right, we're good, and okay, we're all good. Now we can move on, keep going, like so that we're all on the same step, and getting that 100%. They called it circulation and 100%.
Let's focus a little bit on those quick checks you mentioned. What did the teacher do so the students could visibly see that she was checking for understanding?
Could you repeat it one more time?
What did the teacher physically do so that the students had that urgency for understanding as she was circulating?
I saw, let's see, that she was going around giving a check mark, just and going around, and I'm assuming that she also gave like a specific step, like this is the step we're on, coming around. And I also liked that the classrooms that I saw, the majority, were quiet and like we're focused on this one thing. It is one step, a small step. This is what we're focused on. A quiet environment makes it known like we're focused as opposed to distracted.
And so you've almost gotten there. So the teacher herself like went around and physically gave the student a code, right? It wasn't like I'm coming around and checking. It was like I'm coming around and you need a mark from me before we move on, right? And that like you said, what did that create in the students? That
sense of urgency, right?
That sense of urgency, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about what we saw in the video versus what we saw in your class yesterday. Can you tell me a little bit about the difference when you're reflecting on seeing that check versus what students do in your class currently?
Yes, so with the video, which I liked a lot, it is like that step. We're focused on that one thing, and I feel like that's great especially if we're focused on one thing, that lesson, breaking it down step by step, like this is what we're doing. Yesterday, and just most of my classes as well. So yesterday we did review, which kind of have to hit like many things, but even then, like throughout like most of my lessons, I still am I give them like 4 examples, and then I kind of release them, and I'm like, all right, go for it. Because I assume that and this is an example too, like where this is from a week ago or so, I gave them the steps, right? So I'm assuming like, okay, if I'm confused, I'm gonna go back to my steps. Here's step 1, do this. Here's step 2, do this. Here's step 3. But I think something I can work on that I'm seeing right in the video is like walking through it more, doing these steps more, going, okay, step 1, show me step 1, I'm coming around, and like the roaming that they were doing, it's like they're gonna work out for sure, every day, and then okay, step 2, same deal, here we go, and steps and checking and getting that 100%, as opposed to just either me being kind of more towards the front or sticking in a particular area. If I'm in the back, I just kind of stick in the back. If I'm in the front, kind of stick in the front. I should be kind of just being able to roam everywhere and get those checks down so that I know, yes, we all have a check. Awesome. Here we go. Next step.
And
oh no.
okay. And I'm going to ask you,
yes.
Without that monitoring path or that checking in the moment, what are the challenges you run into with independent practice? Or let's think about that.
So my kids, especially like the class that you visited yesterday, that one has a span of different levels, and sometimes the kids that are willing to push themselves and want to do the work, they come up to me, and all of a sudden I'm surrounded by maybe 8 kids, and I love that, and I want to check them, but then I'm surrounded by kids, and then I have to check their individual work. And now it's oh gosh, and I gotta check their steps, and all of a sudden I turn to the next person, we're on a completely different problem, And while I'm busy, then you got the other 18 or so who are in La La Land, either talking with their friend, are not doing any work, or they didn't get any check for understanding from me. I don't know where they are either, and they're in La La Land. I'm over here. There's no way for me to even check where they are in that particular lesson.
I would agree. I think that's and then you do something when you get there. Do you remember what it is?
When I get to where? Sorry.
When you get to the point where there's a bottleneck and you see that students are kind of all over the place, you have a good practice that you do.
Yes.
To get everyone's attention. What is it?
I go, hey Eagles, they go, hey what? And then we're meant to be quiet. And then I'm meant to have their attention, we're meant to refocus. And then if I see that like we're too chattery, I look around, no progress. All right, let's take it back from the top, you know? But like there is no like, this person is struggling with this, you know? Like there's no, or even the little checks to build their confidence up as well.
So I think we've landed on our action step that we're going to practice for the next, this round. What would you say that action step that you'd like to try is?
Yes, I'm thinking, so I need to purposefully build my time and lessons. So the warm up, great. The lesson, great. Keep it short, you know, and like keep it short, sweet. Here's an example, just so that they see this is the goal. So something short. But then where I really need to spend my time, especially because we got all types of levels, is okay, now we're gonna do it together step by step and breaking down those steps so that, and me going around checks for understanding before I even think about independent practice. Because if they don't have a foundation of what it should look like, and me going around and like checking for that with all my students, like they're not gonna feel like they can get to independent practice or like even be able to attempt anything by themselves.
So you've landed on it. We're going to succinctly say it. We're going to use your success criteria, so your steps, to create feedback rounds for each student. So you'll start in the model. Let's talk through that. I want to make sure. Repeat back to me what our action step is.
So the focus will be the feedback rounds, where
We call it strategic monitoring.
Okay. That's
So we're going to strategically monitor during the model part of your lesson. And what we're strategic monitoring for is your success criteria.
For success criteria. Sorry, these are all new terms.
I know, we're learning together.
Success criteria. Okay.
So your success criteria here in this example are these steps. What you want students to do at each step. And you do an excellent job of modeling, but we're gonna model and then create a monitoring path. So you're gonna do step 1. We're gonna draw parentheses around each integer. And then you're gonna have your model, and then your students are gonna have theirs, and you're gonna say, I'm coming around to see if you've done that. You need a check from me before we get to step 2. And then you're very gonna quickly see if our students are stuck on step 1. Then we're gonna go to step 2. We need to identify both signs of the integers. Cover those up in the triangle. And then you're gonna model it. Then you're gonna give them, I'm coming around to see if you've done it. And then we get to step 3. So your model might be a little longer. You may not model 4 or 5 problems. We're modeling 1 problem, but every student is gonna be with you. And then you're gonna do the we do using the same path, and they're gonna get another check. Then you'll do the you do, and you'll be able to be like, you need 3 checks from me before you leave. And then we'll get to the exit ticket. How do you think that's gonna feel?
I mean, it'll feel a little new at first, you know, but I think it would be best, you know, and I think having a strategy is good, you know, as to like how to, because I think their engagement is what I'm struggling with, and I want that to change so that they're engaged with the material, actually learning.
Yeah. Let's practice a little bit, okay? You have your examples from here. Let's practice, pretend I'm your student, and I want you to practice the model with me and make sure that I'm getting down what you want with that check for understanding.
Alright, so, could you write the problem too? Just say -7 times negative, and without the parentheses.
Without the parentheses,
yes,
so it's negative
-7
9 times
negative
7?
Times, yes, sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, so alright, so here we go. So, write the objective. Today we're going to be multiplying and dividing. Here we go. So step number 1 is going to be to draw parentheses around each integer. Go ahead, write integer on the line because we have our little notes here, right? I'm gonna come around and make sure that we got that. Coming around, integer, thank you, right? So parentheses, they look like this. I would go ahead and draw it, right? These are parentheses times parentheses. So this is what I would run around your numbers. Go ahead, coming around. I see parentheses, thank you. Oh, so where are your parentheses? There we go. Thank you. And here we go. Everyone's there. Here we go. Awesome. Step number 2, identify both signs. Go ahead, write signs right there on the line. Identify both signs of integers. Cover those up in the triangle. And honestly, looking back at this, I'd lucky maybe even do this in 2 steps, right? So one step, step 2 really should be identify the signs. I can make them even write the sign. That's what we did here. Make them write the sign. So right underneath, draw the sign. So here we have, is this a positive 9 or a negative 9? It's a negative 9. Thank you, right? So let's go ahead, write our negative right underneath, just like that. And then this one right here, is it a positive 7 or a negative 7?
It's positive.
7, right? So here we go. I'm coming around to make sure that we drew our negative sign and our positive sign. Here we go. I see Ms. Rincon has it. Thank you. That's a check. Here we go. So-and-so. Yup. Here we go. Oh, there you are. Here we go. Awesome. Step number 3 now would be cover those up in the triangle. So first we have a negative, and here we have a positive. I'm going to cover the negative, cover the positive. Everyone go ahead, cover those up with your finger. If you have the triangle right there. On the triangle. I'm coming around. All right, what sign is left over? Negative, thank you, right? So our answer is gonna be negative. Go ahead, right here next to our problem, we're gonna start with a negative right there. And guess what? We're already halfway done with the problem. What? Halfway, yep. That right there's halfway, right? And now step 3, multiply and divide using the remaining sign, right? I think we gotta fix that, right? But mix that. Okay, so we got our negative, and now the next step, we're gonna multiply the numbers up. So what is 9 times 7? Go ahead, write it down on your paper. I'm gonna come around and see if y'all got it right. 9 times 7, right there next to the negative. Coming around, what is 9 times 7? 9 times 7, I see you got it, yep, Ms. Rincon has it. All together, we should have negative 63. Ideally.
Good job.
Ideally.
Okay, so what do we have coming up next week? Now that we've practiced, how did that feel?
I think not too bad. Not too bad. Like, I feel like the little checks, I think it's, if I just take like the 10-second breather, to even just let that sink in, and for me to see that like everyone's done it. I also think like I would fix some of these steps, kind of blend them, edit it a little to make them more tangible steps, like direct steps that I can also see. And yeah, 'cause there's like step 2 I kind of want to separate and then blend with this step 3 that I have written so far, so that it's more tangible and so that I can see them do it.
So what are students doing tomorrow where we could practice this live?
Tomorrow they are doing review now, actually, because we got our benchmark. I wanted to do our new unit because we did a unit test today, but we will be doing review. But in that review, I am going to include ratios, so I can try to do. That's where I struggle. Where I don't know if my review packets should have a section on ratios, a section on rectangular prisms, a section on, forget what else I'm hitting, or decimals to percents and percents, fractions, all that. I don't know if I should have them section, or intermingled, right? Because on the test, they're gonna be woven in, right? Because I can give them the step, we're dealing with ratio, all these are ratios, great. But then when they bump into a test, they're not gonna have a section that tells them, hey, we're dealing with ratios, these are the steps. They kind of have to initiate that themselves,
Well, I think we'll have another opportunity for that.
Okay.
I think to model
Yes,
this and
yes.
practice this,
Okay.
let's just choose that ratio section and let's do a model and go through and do a check. And then you're going to say release them.
Okay.
And you're going to do the same thing. Everyone should be doing step 1, just like we modeled, and I'm coming around to see it
Okay.
and do the checks.
Okay.
Let's try that.
Okay.
What will your steps be on the
ratios?
ratios? Let's talk about the steps,
Yes,
and then that way you have what you're checking for.
Yeah. So let me think of a problem quick, because I did this with my advanced, right? So if we got 3 burgers for every 5 fries, so, and keyword being for every, so I do want to tell them that for every we're doing the ratio. But then the first thing I'm thinking, we've identified we have a ratio, we're going to make a chart. It's going to look like this. So we have, what are we talking about? We're talking about burgers. We're talking about fries. And we're always going to have our total, which is our total number of items that we're talking about, right? So in this case, we're going to start with 3 burgers. So 3 under that column, 5 under this column. We add those up, we get 8 items in total. So the goal, right, when, you know, we get these types of questions, they might ask something like, okay, well, if in the order, the family ordered some stuff, right? And they got, or not a family, this is going to be a Meacham lunch that Meacham got us, bless, right? So she got 25 orders of fries. So then how many burgers did she get, right? Okay, we're looking at fries. So let me break it down already, because I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's see. Step 1 would be to make the chart and just label. I think step 1, make chart and label. Okay. Step 2 would be to start with, and I gotta word this better, right? But the very rough draft. Step 2 would be to label with initial ratio, somewhere that with the instead of initial, I don't know, like this is the ratio that we're given, right? So like,
we want them to identify the ratio so that they can compare.
So that they can write it
solve?
into the, so and then we'll get there in a like I want them, so they ideally this is step 1, just the chart. Step 2 is like put in the numbers and know where the numbers go.
Okay, so and put in the numbers to what? You have the chart, then they're going to put the numbers into. Okay, so create the chart, then put the correct numbers to the variable, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So place numbers in the chart would be step 2.
Right.
What's going to be step 3?
Step 3. It could, what I'm thinking is like, okay, with whatever, and rough draft.
It's fine.
Whatever like number is like given, right? So in this case, we're talking about 25. What are we talking about? Fries.
Fries.
So we're gonna put 25 fries here. This is what we're looking, and this is where, depending on the student, we can either break it down as like we are looking at fries. So I'm gonna fill this out until I hit 25 fries, right? So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Okay, I hit it finally. With some of my more advanced kids, what I can tell them, we can skip a couple steps and just say, okay, 25 fries. Go ahead, put 25 here. And then with my advanced, it'd be like, how do we get from here to here? Oh, 5 times 5 gets me 25. But with my regular, the way I'd break it down, so this would be the class that you come into, right? I would say, okay, we're talking about fries. Okay, we're gonna write until we hit 25 fries. So here we go, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Awesome, 25 fries. Now we're gonna fill that in. And again, for my advanced, I would tell them just what the question's asking for.
So step 3 would be to complete the ratio chart to get to the
design.
To get to what the problem is asking for,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we can say fill in the chart to match the problem, and then
Phone chart to match problem, and then step 4 would be to fill out the other columns.
complete the other columns.
Yeah. Up until that part. Up until, like...
So that's everything they have to do to get, and then how do they solve the problem?
Yeah, so in this case, burgers, we're going to go here. So I'm going to go this time 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I got to get 5 of these numbers. So here 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And then same here, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. and not even tell them. See, this is where it's like I want to tell them everything. I want to tell them, look, you can add them and you'll see they total, you know. But it's like if I overwhelm them, it's gonna be too much, you know.
Start with the steps,
Yeah.
right? And then and let's get a check on that. I think for your steps, you can have them set up their chart and just do a quick glance. We want our success criteria to be focused on what they have to do to solve the problem, right? So a chart is a little procedural, which is okay to start, but let's refine this and see what we can get for. I mean, it should be a given they know to set up the chart. First step, put in your numbers that the problem gives us.
Right.
Step 2, identify what the variable is, the information that they give us. Step 3, fill in each number chart, and then you're coming around to look for each of those things. And then we want to see that they can get to the correct answer, right? Identify and look and enter. So that gives you 4 specific things that you can look for tomorrow when you're modeling this ratio problem and expecting them to do it. And you can tell them, I'm coming around. And so your coding system, last step, now that you've identified your steps, your coding system, if they are doing everything right on each step, what are they going to get? A check?
For they got it correct, yes. They got it.
Okay. If they're not ready to move on yet, what are you going to give them?
I've given them circles.
Circles? Okay.
Maybe like look at this again. Consider this step again.
Look here. And if they've done everything you asked, but their math is not right, what are you going to do?
Let's see. Question mark is mean. That's like you're not like no. Let's see. I could just give them an M for math. You know, like something with your math. It's the math. It's not like your steps aren't wrong. It's a little math. I think. Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm going to give you a final tip for this, okay? We're going to print out a roster, and I want you to walk around with a clipboard, and I want you to record where each student is at each step. So you'll have probably 4, like a spreadsheet. You'll have your roster and 4 boxes, and you'll be walking around to see where are our students getting stuck. And we want to be able to identify that, and that's going to help with our next round of figuring out grouping and pulling our students who are still on the struggle bus, and those we can do some independent practice with. Okay? What period do you want me to come in and observe this tomorrow?
I think. Let's see. It can be any, not even just the one.
Anyone.
Any? Okay. We'll see 6.
6?
Yeah.
Okay. I will see you 6th period tomorrow, and I'll be looking at your monitoring pathway and giving you feedback on how you're ensuring the students are with you during your model.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Good job coming up with a coding
Appreciation.
system.
Yeah.